Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup, Stage 2, Week 1 preview. Okay, so Stage 2 is upon us already, actually. It only seems like a few days ago where Stage 1 finished and we got our champions of Stage 1, which was of course the Vancouver Titans. Let's go over our standings a bit quickly. Remember, this stage, obviously, we'll be getting overall standings now because there'll be two different sets of standings for each stage. I will be combining them in the results video, and then we will see our current standings overall. Obviously, that means a lot for our overall playoffs at the end of the season, but it's early days to be talking about that. We will still go through it, though. I want to get on, though, because there are a lot of fixtures to get through. So, let's go through our standings right now. At the top, we have Vancouver Titans, quite obviously. And second, we have New York Excelsior, still unbeaten in the regular season, although Excelsior did lose in the playoffs. Joint third, we have the Philadelphia Fusion and Toronto Defiant. Fifth, we have the Atlanta Reign. Joint sixth, we have the San Francisco Shock and Soul Dynasty. Eighth, we have the Boston Uprising. Ninth, we have the Dallas Fuel. 10th, we have the Los Angeles Gladiators. 11th, we have the Guangzhou Charge. 12th, we have the Houston Outlaws. In 13th, or joint 13th, I should say, we have the Hangzhou Spark, the Shanghai Dragons, and the London Spitfire. In joint 16th, we have the Chengdu Hunters and Paris Eternal. In 18th, we have Washington Justice. In 19th, we have the Florida Mayhem. And propping up our table, still yet to get a win, we have, in 20th, the Los Angeles Valiant. So, moving on to our fixtures for Week 1. We are back to our regular full batch of fixtures. These will take place on the Friday, the Saturday, Sunday, and the Monday. Starting off on Friday, April the 5th, at midnight. We are now in British summertime where I am. Europeans, at an hour. At midnight, BST, or 1 AM in Europe. I'm presuming that's still right. Philadelphia Fusion will take on the New York Excelsior, our blockbuster match to start off the stage. We don't know what meta we'll be in. If they're still going to run GOATs, which I would expect for the early few games anyway, I think Excelsior should win this one quite easily. At 1:45 AM BST, or in Europe, 2:45, we have the Boston Uprising taking on Atlanta Reign. They're now the Franless Atlanta Reign. That's a big miss for Atlanta. I think they might lose to Boston after that. I don't know whether they've got a good enough Zarya player to replace the Fran. It'll be interesting to see. Although Atlanta would have been able to prepare for this since before the playoffs. They knew the Fran was leaving. So, this could be a close game. I'm going to go for Boston, though. They seem pretty stable right now. 3:30 AM BST, or at 4:30, we have the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. This is heavily dependent on meta, in my opinion. Again, another close game. I think it's possible for all three of the games on Friday to be really, really close. Oh, go on, I'll go for Shanghai. Why not? Why not? Let's back Shanghai, shall we? They've got a difficult game later on the week anyway. At 5:15 AM BST, or 6:15 in Europe, we had the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Paris Eternal. Now, this is interesting. If they're still going to run GOATs, both these teams, then I would expect Paris to win it. If not, I think Guangzhou will win it. Simply because Guangzhou have got some sleeper DPS players, some really good DPS players. I think we've seen Happy on the Widow already, and he popped. I think in a DPS meta, Guangzhou could be quite powerful. So, I'm going to go for Guangzhou. On Saturday, April the 6th, at midnight BST, or 1 AM in Europe, the London Spitfire are back in action against the Florida Mayhem. Can't see past London. No matter what the meta is, I can't see past London here. They got better in Stage 1 after changing their roster slightly and taking out Birdring. They're still not going to be the best team on GOATs, but they're going to be better than Florida, I would have thought. If it's DPS, then rip Florida. Next up, 1:45 AM BST, or 2:45 in Europe, Washington Justice will take on the Toronto Defiant. Again, I can't see past Toronto for this one. Yes, Washington did pick up their first win in Stage 1, but that was against Florida. So, in my opinion, Florida are actually the worst team in the league right now. 3:30 AM in BST, or in Europe, 4:30, we have the LA Valiant, still winless, against the San Francisco Shock. They will remain winless, I would have thought. San Francisco Shock, I think, are better than Valiant in any meta right now. Especially if on GOATs, because Shock will, I think, wipe that if it's GOATs. Next up, 5:15 a.m. in BST, or in Europe 6:15, Los Angeles Gladiators will take on the Seoul Dynasty. This is a difficult one to call. Gladiators improved at the end of last stage after a poor start. Seoul, they're getting better. Definitely getting better. Our playoffs prove that. I don't want to say it was a fluke against Excelsior. I think it was Excelsior choking more than it was Seoul completely rampant. Because I think it wasn't even close between Seoul and Vancouver. So it will be a really close game, but I will edge Seoul right now. It's difficult to tell because we don't know what the meta is. At 8 p.m. BST, or 9 p.m. in Europe, it'll be the Florida Mayhem taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. Philadelphia Fusion, moving on. A quarter to 10 in BST, or a quarter to 11 in Europe, we have the Toronto Defiant taking on the Boston Uprising. This is one I think Toronto will take. I think they're slightly better than Boston player for player, apart from perhaps the main tank. But we don't know what Fusions might be forced onto. Fusions might be forced onto a Wrecking Ball, which could be interesting. Don't know who the best Wrecking Ball in the league is right now, do we? Among? Moving on after that, at 11:30 or in BST, or midnight in Europe, we have the New York Excelsior taking on the Shanghai Dragons. Yeah, I can't back Shanghai here. I'm sorry, it's NYXL to take this one. At 1:15 a.m, this will be on the Sunday in BST, or 2:15 in Europe, we have the Chengdu Hunters in action for the first time of the stage against Paris Eternal. Ay. Paris, it's not a difficult week, but it's an unpredictable week for Paris. Chengdu, obviously, they were disruptive last stage with their Hammond and 3 DPS lineup. I think Chengdu could take that one. In all honesty, I think Chengdu could take that one. Especially as they're going to have more power now the buffs have come through against goats. So they're going to be much more potent than they were in stage 1. Which means those narrow losses that were 3-2 suddenly start to turn into narrow wins or 3-1 wins. So I think Chengdu will take that one. At 8 p.m. BST, or 9 p.m. in Europe, we have the San Francisco Shock taking on the Guangzhou Charge. This will be on the Sunday. Shock, I think, will still take that one. Guangzhou will cause them some issues. I don't really doubt that. Guangzhou have caused a lot of teams issues, including Vancouver at times. But I think Shock will take that one. At 9:45 p.m. in BST, or in Europe, it'll be 10:45, you have the Atlanta Reign taking on the London Spitfire. Ay. This depends. This depends how good a Zaro we get out of Atlanta now they're missing Defran. And it also depends what the meta is. If it's a DPS meta, London all the way. If it's not, then I think this will be very close. I will... Oh, if this had been last stage, I would have definitely gone for Atlanta. That is the hardest to call of the whole week, in my opinion. I will go London, but only just. Simply because I reckon London have probably been running some interesting strats in their scrims, and they might have found a way around goats. At 11:30 BST, or midnight in Europe, we have the Vancouver Titans in action for the first time at this stage against the Hangzhou Spark. Again, no matter the meta, see what I did there? I think Vancouver would win over the Hangzhou here. Vancouver, I don't know. Will we see a strong Vancouver on DPS? It's difficult to say. Vancouver, we know the backstory by Vancouver at this point. Runaway played all metas. They played double sniper, they played dive. But they only really got their success, their title, when playing goats. So, will they come up that slight bit lacking in other metas if we see it? Remains to be seen. And will they stubbornly stick to goats, is my other question. At the moment, I can only see Vancouver winning against Hangzhou Spark. But in the future, depending on what meta we see, it might be a closer affair. It might be a closer affair this time round, depending on whether they found something. Hangzhou might have found something crazy to run that will stomp on goats, but we don't know because we haven't seen any pro games of this patch 1.34 yet. So the last game will be at 1:15 AM BST on the Monday, or 2:15 in Europe. And we will cap it off with the Washington Justice taking on the Chengdu Hunters. I would expect Chengdu to win this in any meta. Washington, you're not Season 1 Shanghai bad, but you're not good either. Sorry. Although you have added Arc, which I think is a good signing. And I think that will bolster your support line massively. I would expect Arc to start. But I still think Chengdu will win this one out. And I have belief in Chengdu. There are your Stage 2 Week 1 fixtures. There's a lot of games that are hard to call. You've got Gladiator Seoul, you've got Atlanta Rain London, you've got Boston Atlanta, Shanghai Gladiators, Guangzhou Charge versus Paris, you've got Paris versus Chengdu. I think these games are hard to call simply because we don't know what the meta is. I have seen quite a bit of Wrecking Ball and 3DPS, but that's not to say that pros will be playing that. I have seen comps run in contenders, and remember that's still on patch 1.32. We've seen 4 DPS. I've seen British Hurricane play quite a bit of 4 DPS at times, and it's been successful even on patch 1.32. In 1.34, that could be even better. So I definitely expect a return of DPS. I just think it will be a slow process to transfer from goats to a new meta, and we don't know what that new meta is yet. It still could be a bunker. It could still be an Orisa, Bastion and Batiste. Although I think it's just too vulnerable to dive. Maybe dive comes back. Then everyone will be moaning about dive again, and then we'll get another Brigitte. Don't moan about dive. Community, we've learned our lesson. Anyway, I will leave it here for this roundup. I will be back with the results after these games are finished. We are back with the Overwatch League for Stage 2. A whole lot of fixtures to come. And obviously, for the first time this stage, Overwatch League goes on the road to Dallas in Week 4. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new. And I will see you in the next video. See you then.